I say, hey, we're talking about how Web3 will change the music industry, what we're talking about is what will this look like a decade, 20 years from now? How will artists create thriving careers, create followings, and what's this going to look like? So blockchain is a data storage type in which instead of storing data in a central place, we store it on multiple different decentralized nodes. It's more secure because it's spread out into nodes. It's transparent because you can see everything going on. And also it enables the people that have the nodes to actually own it. So there's no company that can come and take it away. NFTs are digital representations of items that we place on the blockchain. Any type of item can be made into an NFT. Smart contracts are pieces of code that automate processes that would otherwise require time and humans. The metaverse, also a broad term that refers to new digital immersive experiences, such as AR, VR, anything virtual where we're really engaging and creating an experience. That's happening in the metaverse. AI, artificial intelligence, that's how we as humans create code that can think in complex ways, do incredible things that humans can do, and also things that humans can't do. So AI is very powerful. So on that note of terms, now that we've got everybody on the call, I'd like to introduce our panelists. So honored to have our panelists here today. Joe Palumbo is an experienced entrepreneur, founder of 5 technology incubators and chief technology officer of several publicly traded companies. Jeff Vangieri is a veteran music tech entrepreneur whose music products were first to market disc jockey software and karaoke software. His company's music is featured in the Fender Play app, Activision's The Voice game, Yamaha's Clavier Player pianos, and Joe's company provided music for all these initiatives. BrandonDavid Hawkins is the co-founder of Music City Crypto, where they guide, advise, and build community for everyone, and especially artists interested in the Web3 music space. He hosts the Why Web3 webinar, the More Than a Mastermind series, and more events that you can check out to get involved. Johnny Stevenson is the co-founder of Crypto Loops. He's been working in the Web2 music industry for over a decade, and now with this new technology is looking to revolutionize the music industry at the atomic level and up. All right, so we're gonna dive into some questions here. So to start us off, Jeff, I'm curious. Jeff, you have worked with hundreds of artists in your career. Based on your experience with IMECA, and please tell us about IMECA, what have you seen change in the way that talented artists launch careers? And what challenges do you see artists facing today?
Thanks, Benny, and thanks for having me, putting this event together. It's fantastic. It's always good to have a great open dialogue. IMECA is an acronym for Incubator for Music, Entertainment, and Creative Arts, IMECA. And I started IMECA in 2000. It was the first incubator in the United States for music, entertainment, and creative arts. We were part of the NBIA, the National Business Incubator Association. We had a 100,000 square foot facility we were a part of, and a 40,000 square foot office building where we helped the business of music cultivate and ultimately cultivate musicians. So that's a long time ago. A lot of things have changed in the industry. I'll try to not get on a soapbox, but you know, the evolution from GarageBand and the struggle for gig swapping and really getting out there and doing the grassroots development of your career, I think is very much applicable today. And yeah, there's lots of different tools and technology, and I think that Web3, Web2 has had lots of promising tools that have helped people develop their careers and garner significant exposure in a new and innovative way. We do get inundated with lots of different types of solutions and tools and technology, and it takes away from the craft of being an artist, and the challenges that artists face on the daily basis are really a big part of that, adopting those different technology components. So I think that generally speaking, the career of musicians has remained very similar in the importance of being and having grassroots activations, and then leveraging technology as it comes to be made available. In the late 90s, technology was few and far between, other than an email list. And as that continued to grow, more and more tools became available, and it's still a lot of work to manage and maintain those tools. So I think the answer to the question is along those lines, that it's come a long way, and technology continues to iterate and provide new and meaningful resources for artists and talent. And it's really important that you harness those tools without driving a distraction away from fundamental activities.
Definitely, the fundamentals don't change. Joe, I'm curious to hear from you next.
Okay.
And we'll dive into some open dialogue with back and forth a little bit later. Joe, you have pioneered new software for producers and been involved in licensing hundreds of millions of song plays. What are the difficulties for artists creating and distributing new music today, and how can they be solved?
Kind of on the same lines of what Jeff was just saying, that there's so many things now that you have to do as an artist to launch your career. It's not as simple as showing up at the Union Hall or showing up at the studio and hopefully getting your first session gig and then someone digging you and putting you on records, because that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it just doesn't happen. That's not how music is created. And those challenges of what softwares to use and how to get yourself the maximum amount of return, the bean theory, right? I'm going to spend so much time on my career. Like, it's like, I'm going to go to the gym. What body part am I going to work on? I'm going to work on my musical career right now. And you've got to take the art of it and then understand, the second word, business, music business, and what's the business of it, and how do I leverage this? And I've seen so many things change, like even like royalty reporting. I run a big sound alike catalog, and it's Digitrax Entertainment. We have our karaoke cloud, which is 30 years of sound alike recordings. I mean, every week we release 10. I mean, out of our studios here in Knoxville, we record 10 new songs. So we understand from the technology standpoint. I mean, like this big board behind me, this is like only one room left with a board in it. Like every other room is just boutique, right? It's like a preamp and a computer and a digital audio workstation. So the challenges for musicians are, how do I compete with the groups that have a ton of music? How can I make more music in less time? Where can I get musicians? Like how do I do collaboration at scale? How do I really scale collaboration now? Because it's a new world, right? I mean, we're looking at bite-sized music at this point. I mean, TikTok, just think TikTok, cats. I mean, this is where it's going, right? I mean, that's what's driving at least the greasy kid stuff, like the new music. I mean, jazz is always going to be jazz. Blues is going to be blues. I mean, rock's going to be rock. I mean, but like, pop music, mainstream music, I mean, music for other things like video games. I mean, there's so many places to put music now. 100,000 new songs a day go up on Spotify. How are these cats going to make money? How are they? I mean, like, how is that possibly going to turn? Like, what percentage of that single song is going to feed you? Like, does it take 100 of my songs to make a living? Does it take 200 of my songs on Spotify playing? Like, what is it? What's that number? And how do I get there? Or how do I collaborate my way there I mean, whether you're a composer, own a label, I mean, you're always looking for new music. You're looking for that hit, right? If you're for a record label. If you're a composer, I don't know, maybe your thing is just video games and you just want to create a lot of that. So It's there's a lot of opportunity today. It's just that the commas moved for the payouts. I mean, it's funny. I post vinyl every single day. If you go to my LinkedIn site, I post a piece of vinyl, and I pulled out a Badfinger record I bought for 69 cents. I mean, first of all, I had the cent thing on it, right? But 69 cents that year, equivalent today, is $5. So the buying power of 69 cents when I bought that 45, the buying power today it would take $5 of today's money to buy that. It's 69 cents. So, you're competing against that Spotify stream, that 0.000, like, why are you fighting over that? I'm watching so many of these great new NFT things. Like, I mean, Benny's turned me on to the fella in Nashville. Thank you. Like, great Ryan and those cats. I mean, there's just so much hot stuff going on in this field, especially on the royalty reporting side of my life. I mean, like you were saying, I manage millions of plays, right? We have roughly 9,000 songs up on YouTube alone, right? On my YouTube channel that generates streams. And the royalty reporting on that is a task of Job, right? Having all of this stuff on a blockchain where everything's reported in real time. I don't have to talk to anybody. We agreed about it up front. There's a smart contract. We can all see it. Wow, talk about like legitimizing things and like really making stuff transparent. I mean, right? This is all about transparency. But yeah, that's my thoughts on those subjects.
Fascinating. Everything, the evolution of music, it's come a long way. And with Spotify, I just recently watched the Spotify documentary, or it's not a documentary, it's on Netflix. Touched on something. I look forward to getting further into streaming and how that challenges. It's fascinating. BrandonDavid, I'm curious to hear from you. You have worked closely with Web3 music companies that are launching new products for bands and labels alike. With a broad range of ways for bands to monetize, where do you see Web3 offerings being successful alongside other options such as merchandise and touring?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's just such an honor to be here with this group of people. And I know even some of the people in the audience are movers and shakers in their own right. So it's amazing to be part of this. And to piggyback a little bit, even from what Joe's saying about, a lot of artists are fighting over, you got millions of people fighting over one little piece of cheese. And I have a brother who's a producer that he said a while ago, he said, look, when this whole Napster thing turned into, social media and all that kind of stuff, he said, look, we got to use the music, guys, as a marketing tool to drive people back to the live shows, back to the merch, back to the things that we can control within our community. We have to build our community. And so that remains today. The music projects, the tech, the companies, whether it's Noom.io, which is helping with fractionalized royalties. They just did a beta drop with MERS and doing some great things on the Cardano blockchain to start. You have them, you have Single Music, who they master the merchandising world. They master the Shopify for groups that do Shopify and then want to bundle their packages together and still report to Billboard. They do great with that. So I believe that it's going to take a combination of these technologies, of these platforms, and the artists just having people they can trust to guide them through the process, because there's going to be more responsibility on the artist, on the creative, to find the right resources and the right people to partner and collaborate with. And at the end of the day, it's still about the community. So you can have the greatest project in the world, but if you don't have solid marketing, if you're not connected to the people, if you don't have guys like Benny or guys like Johnny or other people that are on this call or in the audience in your corner or helping or believe in you, the platforms can only do so much. But those are a few that it's a few of the kind of platforms we're seeing, from fractionalized royalties and token gating is big, like kind of like Patreon style companies. We believe are those ones that help the bands crowdfund and can also do some cool things like that. Award Pool is another one we work with that's doing a really cool white labeled solution to gamify your fans to have to earn points by posting or doing certain actions that they can trade those points into for your NFTs. So yeah, that's that's a little tidbit right.
Absolutely. And there's a lot going on. I look for, we can drop some links to some of those in the chat as well. So cool to have you on the front lines of all of that. In fact, you're on the front lines right now, aren't you? Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, if you could hear some of that background, Cleveland is rocking, y'all. Mayor Justin Bibb is rocking it in Cleveland, Ohio, kind of like Mayor Suarez of the Midwest, and just different kind of climate out here. But we're from where I'm live at Futureland CLE. Futureland is like almost like Cleveland's emerging South by Southwest kind of conference with Web3 all week through it. Shout out to Musa Hakim Jr. And it's amazing the people who are coming out for this. So, yep. And it's conferences like this, and the people who put things on, like Benny and other people. We have our friend Scott in West Palm Beach and other event promoters all around the world. That it's amazing because now we have an atmosphere we can come into, get to know one another, and build that know, like, and trust. I got to know somebody. I got to like them for the most part, and I got to trust them. And that's a process. So conferences like this, events like this really helps accelerate that know, like, trust process, KLT.
1000%. And that's a quick note on relationships. Anybody, feel free to reach out. We're here to get to know each other. Feel free to let us know how we can help you. On the note of community, Johnny, you're amazing community builder. You've been building community with hundreds of artists and talked about their approach to Web3. What is the driving force bringing artists into this space? And what problems are you excited to see solved?
Thanks, Benny. So along the lines of everything else, I guess everybody had a little touch on along the lines of what we're doing and why we're here. A lot of the things that I see for the first question you asked that artists are kind of excited to fix and problems that they're looking to get solved was the outdated way we've done contracts. I mean, if you think about copyrights and the security and technology behind them, it's mostly PDF files and paperwork that are over 100 plus years old. And I see a lot of not only producers that get a lot of their music samples and productions taken and misuse in all different types of music, movies, TVs, commercial, even mainstream music that we've heard of horror stories of people getting their samples ripped from, to even the ways that this Web3 could even provide some sort of seamless, immersive, creative experience in not only with AI technology, but smart contract and blockchain technology, VR technology, and even new technology that we are bridging to the Web3 from DAW to DAW, new technology. The last thing I think I noticed a lot of this community in the Web2 side kind of like slowly dive into the Web3 is this real-time attribution that artists and creatives can have with the music and their creation and their fans and just the community in general. There's so much we could talk about the real-time attribution, from just like actively reaching out to a fan or a collaborator, even how you do business. The real-time attribution of the technology we can do nowadays is no more of tracking down stems, no more waiting for payments. A lot of people are excited to see what we can really do. And here in this discussion, I'm sure we're all going to break it down to everyone can understand of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to fix these problems that we've dealt with. But a lot of people are exciting. It's just us getting over that barrier of adoption.
Yeah, it's a big barrier, but it's inevitable. It's a matter of when, not if. We're going to do a quick poll and then move into some open discussion about some really cool concepts, see where things go. I did notice as I set up the poll, somebody asked if we would send out links. We will do that. So if you registered on Eventbrite, we'll be sending things out through there. If not, feel free to message the hosts and panelists with your email. We'll make sure to get you that list. Okay, cool. So yeah, just to see where everybody is at in terms of digital adoption of music, Web3 and music, I want to ask some quick questions. So I just launched a poll. Think it'll pop up right in the middle of the screen. Please go ahead and let me know what you guys think. Let me know how many virtual concerts or virtual performances you have attended. It's kind of a simple question, but I think it's interesting because it shows that 10 years ago, we most likely all would have said none. And Jeff, Joe, BrandonDavid, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys were really on top of virtual concerts, but it's really cool just to see that, yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot that you can experience from your computer from anywhere in the world. And yeah, the second question, and I'll share the results here in a second once we let everybody go ahead and take the poll. Yeah, I think it'll pop up right in the middle of your screen there. Is how familiar are you with NFTs and digital collectibles? Have you never heard of them? Maybe you've heard of them, but that's about it. One of the artists that you love has launched one. Maybe you bought one yourself. You've researched one yourself. So all right, so three more seconds here for everybody to answer the poll. 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. So it looks like of virtual conferences, about half of people still said they hadn't been to one yet. Half is still a lot that have. Other half of you come. There's a lot of amazing ones on. Happy to help show you some. And yeah, how familiar with NFTs and digital collectibles? We've got a lot of people here that really know their stuff. That's awesome. Fantastic. 64% have researched and or bought one. That's fascinating. I am really interested in music NFTs and everything. So okay, so on that note, let's go into some open dialogue, some fun questions on this. I know one big one that I personally have is about streaming. Streaming platforms have changed the music industry for the better, for the worse. They've made it difficult for artists to monetize through listening alone. And please do catch me and help me rephrase that problem too, for those of you that have seen this on a more granular level. But I'm curious to hear from the panelists, how do we think this new technology could challenge that?
I definitely have some opinions on that. And, everyone had a few comments about a variety of variations. There's certainly a consistent tone, which is that innovation and new technology is very exciting. And a lot of times it fragments, and that's not a good thing. We get completely inundated with what's new and what's next, and how do I leverage that tool, and what's the right tool and the right decision, and those things become fads. When Benny and I were talking earlier this week about this event, one of the things that we got into talking about was Spotify. I mean, Spotify, it's good. It's wonderful to be able to listen to music and have access to it. Spotify was developed to offset the Napsters of the world and the non-monetized music sharing that was hurting artists because they were diminishing traditional record sales, but they were increasing one of the biggest profit centers for artists, which is live touring and merchandising. So that ended up being the other side of it. Unfortunately, it's very, very hard for an emerging artist or a new artist to make money leveraging the tools of Spotify. So when I think about how technology evolves and how artists can leverage that technology, I go back to thinking about the very conventional idea of 360 deals, where 360 deals encompassed all the different aspects of an artist's career. And that was a record label taking it not advantage of, but taking an opportunity to harness the full potential of the artist's career. And if you look at this kind of circle, pie chart, if you will, of where an artist needs to spend their time, resources, effort, energy in order to make money. It definitely encompasses using different tools, but you want to think about the career as a holistic approach, leverage a variety of different tools, and keep in mind that people want to connect, they want to have a relationship, and they want to have an experience. And if you can deliver those things, a relationship, an experience, then you're bound to have a lot of success as an artist. And when we did IMECA, it started off as the local music community, which was an effort to create a middle class of music. And that's really what a lot of these tools make possible to happen as a middle class of music. So it's back kind of, I keep merging into fundamentals because I think it's really an important element, but I love the innovation. I love the development of smart contracts for rights management and NFTs for monetization and fan engagement. NFTs have a diverse possibility of scope that are unique ways for artists to manage their career. So I'll stop there.
I think a big part of streaming it, as we're seeing it now, is collaboration. You're seeing a lot of collaboration instead of just going it alone, because you've got an uphill battle. You could double down by going with another artist, right? And both leverage your fan bases. And that's why when we developed our tool, and I'll talk about Creator Pro, we developed that tool with collaboration in mind, because and blockchain is perfect for this, because now I don't need to collaborate per se with another live human, right? So if I want to get a stream together, and like crypto loops Johnny was talking about, samples and this and that. I mean, it's like, wow, let's just rewrite stuff, like just write a bunch of new music. I mean, that we could just do that, because and that's what we'll talk about with AI, because you need a big catalog to compete against a lot of these companies, because the way Universal's really making its money, it's not from those big hits, it's really from the catalog. The streaming derived is just from the size of it, and then the venue. It's like, it's with streaming right now, it's just those venues have been like, everybody with like lemmings went like, I have Spotify, everybody has Apple, everybody's like, I mean, there's a lot more choices. Like if you really dig math metal, like I don't think Spotify is going to have all your stuff on it. I mean, if you like, underground punk still, which is still a big movement, you're not going to find it. You're not going to find a lot of stuff. So I think boutique streaming, I think that's going to be a big area. We're going to see more and more. It's just not hip. I mean, movements suffer no fool. They don't care about technology and movement, especially an art movement or a music movement, and the way it's. But streaming's here to stay. Who's streaming? It's going to be is it a big corporation? Is it we the people end up coming up with different streaming alternatives where the artists can collaborate more and make more money on it. I think Johnny has probably a lot to say about this too.
I'll say something quick because I know we have to keep moving, but what I see, I don't see streaming leaving. I see them adapting, and I see that we have to adapt with that as well. With, speaking of AI, example of, if we do have this technology and we do start hashing music at the atomic curation level, we can now track this with an AI. We can now let the be streams, but let's really monetize our value through these streaming apps, where they're going to have to adapt no matter what, because technology has evolved this far.
It's fascinating. And I think go ahead, BrandonDavid.
Oh, I was just going to mention Audius, I think, is one of those, maybe not so boutique, but Audius is one of those streaming companies that you'll hear, I believe, like Blau and Deadmau5 and guys like that have been utilizing tons of other artists. So I just want to throw that name Audius out there for people to look into.
Yeah, the Rocky's another one like that. ROCKI. Bjorn, I've talked to him a few times. They've got a nice platform like that as well, like the Audius. I put some stuff up on Audius to play with it. I'm gonna put some stuff up on the other one just to play with this, to see what the user experience is like. I mean, that's right, big part of it.
The world's changing, similar to how Spotify was not immediately accepted, took some time. What's coming next? I think fascinating points, and Audience is a great example.
Right. Betty, if you don't mind, just when you say like what's coming next, we're also seeing, like you saw Royal, and the fractionalization of royalties, whether people agree with how they did it or all that kind of stuff. But there's sometimes the first one to market's the messiest one. So there's, with companies like Noom coming forth and trying to really figure that out around the artist, what it would look like to utilize, give your royalties to your fans in exchange for upfront, bank on your community. That's something that where you the current streaming that you have, if you do have traction, and then be able to do some things on alternative streaming platforms if you choose as well, or however you want to distribute. And also choose when you take those things off the market. Also,
and I'm seeing people answering some or asking some great questions in the chat and through the QA. So we've got another question here that I had prepared, and then we'll dive into QA. Curious about digital twins. And yeah, so
I got this.
And Joe, I know you're the expert on this. It's a broad topic. What are digital twins in reference to AI, and how artists use them to create new music?
Okay, so digital twin can be used in a visual medium, and that's a simple one to explain, right? Like Bruce Willis sold his digital twin, right? So you have a representation of Bruce Willis and the way he looks, and if you're gonna create a video game or something and you can manipulate it, make him look real, like with a deep fake, that's Bruce Willis's digital twin visually, right? Okay, let's go music. We've been working at this for 15 years. So literally, Marcus has anyway. I've been with it for 5 years, and we've developed a music theory based artificial intelligence it's music theory. So, and it's an evolutionary algorithm. So I can take the writing style and analyze any composer, and then I can learn to write like that composer. I can create his clone, his digital twin. I can write music as if that composer wrote it, using none of their notes, no like Markov sequences, no respitting out any of their arrangements, and just learn to write like they write. So where does that fall on the scale of legal rights? Like now we have a whole, like, we've opened Pandora's box, okay? Because now I can write like, let's say I can write like Paul McCartney, or I can write like Deadmau5, or I can write like any artist, Charlie Puth. I can write like oh my God, Harry Styles. I mean, and I could write like any one of these artists now, and I can create new music. And then if I assign the correct synthesizers and correct sounds, I can emulate the same sound that they did in the studio, because that's essentially what they did. So, and I can do this now. And now but I'm not using any of his notes. So there would be no real attribute. There would be no wave to compare. There would be no note sequences. I mean, you can compare them, but they won't be the same, especially if I tell the AI never to write the same thing twice and never infringe upon the original target, composition. So we've created something we've called the motif agreement, where it's it's name and likeness essentially, because there's no way we can say, oh, we're gonna take your soul, your writing, and quantify that somehow in a court of law in the four corners of a contract. But it's really interesting. And like, just like a human, like I learned how to play the drums, right? I listened to Ringo Starr and Charlie Watts and Keith Moon and Neil Peart. And I tried playing like all these cats, and my drumming style is probably somewhere in between all of those, right? Because that's how I learned to play it. But the digital twin thing is just gonna super heat up, because I can see artists saying, look, I can, like, wait, you can take my brand essentially and have me collaborating with all of my fans. That we've created this product, Creator Pro, to do that right now, where we can take an artist motif and now you can create. And if the artist puts his name on it, because we would never do that. And part of this call, I would love for people to come to Creator and make their own digital twin, like make your digital twin now. Like that's what I would say to all artists about digital twins. Start creating your own digital twin now, because it's going to happen. Synthetic media is assured. I mean, 100,000 songs a day go up on Spotify, 600 million hours of short form video are watched every day, 600 million hours. You break that down into the seconds, you're looking at billions of pieces of content with music underneath all of it. And I think the digital twin, it really turns me on. You see how excited I get when I talk about it. I mean, it's something that, as sure as I'm sitting here, is happening. It's going to happen, and it's a big piece of our musical futures and how we're all going to earn. I'm really excited that all of the work that we've done in it. I'm sure Johnny mentioned stuff too, and so I'm going to let him talk about that a little bit as well. I don't want to monopolize the whole digital twin thing.
So in our development, we down the road want to fully bring in the AI technology and digital twin technology that is happening to everybody in our platform that comes and works with us, because of what's coming to with AI is like the new IP law. People don't realize that we're coming to a point where music, like he's talking about, is on the blockchain. This will provide us a watermark, so to say, with this AI and trackability. A lot of this AI technology with the digital twins can save you from a lot of infringement, a lot of copyright problems. On like the positive side, even people start abusing AI. The digital works of art that can be put out with these watermarks that you can do just gives you an authorization, meaning that like it can't be used without your permission, without you getting notified. And that's just like the bare thing that we love from it on the tech side, is seeing how AI could just fix a lot of these little problems that we have as an artist, that we know we have to pay so much more to get them solved, or dive in so much more on things that we have no idea to track. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to know more about what you guys have got going on, and I'm just
you and I are definitely talking after this, because I heard just from what you said earlier. Yeah, it was great.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Cool. Benny's like the matchmaker. Benny's matched me up with everybody on this call. So, I mean, even the guys from Noom, I'm having the best conversations with them as well. They're just a great outfit. So, nothing but good stuff to say about them.
Jeff or BrandonDavid, anything you guys wanted to add on this question about digital twins?
I did digital twins for medical in the past, and we had some really interesting early on dialogue about the rights management. We were doing a concert series, and the artist asked us to produce some augmented reality experiences, and we were working with an agency on another project similar, where we were going to do a volumetric capture live stream AR video engagement at a launch of a fashion store brand, a flagship fashion brand. And we had this really incredible dialogue. This is, I think, like 7-8 years ago. it was quite a while ago, and we started having this conversation about who has the right to put content where and why, and then who owns that content and where and why. So I've really been, in that for a long time, kind of we've developed a platform for digital property rights that sits on the blockchain to manage and assist with who gets access to what, when, where, and why, and to manage that dynamic relationship. And the evolution of blockchain has simplified that process, but it's still a really important thing. And I echo the other panelists' comments to say that it's really important that you establish and set ground rules and framework around what that looks like. The metaverse is here, and it's something that you can create, new and in-depth digital experiences that as an artist you can monetize. I don't see, we have Facebook changing their name to Meta and investing, hundreds of millions of dollars into expanding the metaverse. And it's a prolific thing to be able to move between these different environments, and people are going to be there and they want to connect. So a benchmark statement I said earlier is that people want to connect and they want to have an experience, and those can happen digitally, it can happen in person, it can happen with a really good loyalty program, or sharing, some of your revenue with artists, engaging with them, creating collectors out of them. Those are all very viable tools and resources, and they go right along with the concept of your digital twinning.
It's uncharted territory, and it's inevitable.
Not too uncharted. It's evolving, but it takes those innovators to tap into and develop new things, like you, Benny. Go write some code and change the world, right?
Absolutely. So before we open into Q&A from the audience, I want to recap what everybody's doing here and how people can get involved. Joe, starting with you, tell us, just recap what you're doing and how people can join.
Sure, absolutely. You can go to KR38R, that's creator, and you can download our plugin if you operate a digital audio workstation. We've got complete tutorials there, and then anyone who downloads it, email me and I'll send you a license code free, so you can use the product.
Nice.
We're just launching it, and it's our equivalent to the first foray into a Dolly or Midjourney like experience for audio, where you can communicate to the AI plugin, and it's really interesting. I was just demoing it for a big producer, and the thing he loved about it, he goes, Joe, you really got the time between notes correctly. And in composition, the time between notes is amazing, and you'll get to see that if you go and experience the creator plugin. It uses our 7 patents in artificial intelligence to compose music, and it's based in music theory. So everything you create, you could do it from one chord. You just put a chord in, and they just set your parameters, and then you write each part as if you were in the studio using your DAW, right? You write your bass part, your melody, your lead voice. And so you build your song. You could do quartets, you can build any type of music you want, but I'd really like for people on the call to really go look at the Creator Pro app. And this is our beginning piece. And then this app will take, it doesn't do it right now. We've been experimenting with it, and we're working with Benny actually on this little bit of product, and we'll be able to have downloadable content in the way of NFTs that we call mix packs, style packs, producer packs, and they're essentially session files. So like you would go to Splice and you hear a song that you like, and you get that Splice loop, or you go to Sounds and you get that kind of stuff. Well, we want to put up a marketplace using all of the users of Creator Pro who create digital twins of themselves to sell their sample packs and loop packs. But it's not a sample pack or a loop pack. Now it's a session file of Creator Pro, where now you can seriously alter that song. I mean, you can change it completely. I liked that opening chord that he used. I mean, how many times when you're producing a song, you find that opening chord? I hear musicians say this here all the time. That's that first chord. Where do I go next? Where do I take it? And the Creator Pro helps you out with that tremendously. You would have probably written it yourself, but it's going to speed you up tremendously. It's like it's a real game changer. I mean, you use this plugin and you're a producer, you're going to be pretty blown. It's a big statement I'm making here, like huge. it's it's that time between notes is where we really got it right. And our composition style. I'm really pleased with it, and I'm sorry because I'm dominating this, and I'll turn it over.
Thank you so much. I put the link and your email in the chat for those that want to go download and email Joe for a license link.
Great.
Johnny, please tell us what's up with Crypto Loops and how people can join.
Basically, Crypto Loops. Where do I start? We, at its core, we're a lot of things. We're dialing in on smart contracts. That's kind of what the headaches I've had most of my life. Those are problems that I noticed this technology could solve at the atomic level right away. On the back end of that, one of my co-founders, Don Dada, he's actually in here. He's a music producer, and he had all these other problems that kind of just entangled with what I'm doing and why I wanted to get into Web3 with the smart contracts, as a producer and as the creative and kind of the user experience, where he brought in the whole marketplace. And maybe that's an option on our platform to have a kind of marketplace strictly for samples, sounds, audio, in every type of way. Basically, we are an audio loop platform focusing on smart contracts, but using everything we can do in Web3 to kind of help not only educate, but solve some of these problems we have. We're big in hospitality, kind of our background, but marketing as well. So we have, and law, sorry, excuse me. We're looking at it at a law background as well. Our other co-founder, Will Fredo, I don't know if he was in here. He was in here for a little bit. He kind of gives us all the insight on what we can do in the future, we can do with AI and all this Web3 technology and music. We're just combining this ecosystem, creating a community. Every Friday at 11 Central on Twitter Spaces, we do Web3 music. We talk about everything. I'm interviewing. I love to bring in some of you guys on the panel just to interview and talk. We get from 50 to 100 people every time. We're building this. This is kind of on our upward stage of building our community, but more of just building the Web3 community first, because I want to give back as much as I can before I kind of ask for anything as far as community building wise. And that's kind of what we're doing as far as music. We actually just teamed up with a really cool project, a new tech in the Web 2 point of view, which I think a lot of people can relate to, is called Dawn Audio. For the first time, they built a protocol and tech to bridge all DAWs. So there's no more tracking out stems. There's no more, waiting for emails back and forth. You can now use your Fruity Loop plugins or in your Pro Tool plugins with somebody who has Fruity Loops actively in a session anywhere in the world. And from there, we're Web3ing it with Crypto Loops and just adding in that security factor, the contracts and splits from studio conception and out. We want to make it comfortable for people that are managers and people who are in the studio that still are a part of the session, but they don't have some way of collecting rights. They don't have some way of being in the room without being an artist or a creative. And we're just trying to build that ecosystem out and kind of educate as much as we can. Thanks, Ben.
It's a great community. Strongly recommend. And make sure, I think you put earlier in the chat to your information. Drop that again so people can link in. Jeff, I was so honored to have you join us with how busy you are. Thank you for coming. Anything you'd like to tell the audience on the way out?
Just say, I'm always available. You can find me on LinkedIn. JeffPalumbo.com goes to my LinkedIn profile and connect with me on there. I'm always really excited to see these projects. I have a big, network, so I love to see new things, new innovations, connect with people, and help people develop their careers and businesses develop their careers. So feel free to reach out. I'm Mecca. is something I started a long time ago, and went away from after 4 or 5 years of doing it. And then last year in February, I was in Miami, and one of my friends said, "You've got to do this." And I said, "I don't want to do it, but you can do it." So I'm always interested to find, really ambitious people, groups of people to help establish new IMECAs around the world. And so if you ever interested or have people that are interested in standing up an incubator for music, entertainment, creative arts, and fostering innovation and bringing businesses together, resources together, community together, I'd be interested in supporting that and helping you, get a market up and running. So yeah, a couple things like that. Feel free to reach out.
BrandonDavid, please, Music City Crypto, tell us everything.
Man, well, I'm trying to give you the trailer and a Tesla trailer. But like you could hear in the background, probably, there's a panel with the Ohio DAO speaking right now here in my future land. So when I had an advisor speak to me about really helping bring together Nashville's blockchain communities locally and globally, when I went to Miami, that was it. It was like I never looked back. Deep Denver, NFT LA, South by, Decentral Consensus, Cleveland, NFT NYC, all these events, all these people. But what do we really need? Relationships. And not just relationships, but the right relationships with the right people who are moving in a positive direction. So our heart for years, even before the Web3 space, was to empower artists and entrepreneurs to thrive, to pivot and pave the way for the future during the pandemic, to just really figuring out how can we bring more understanding and community to Web3. And community has a way of people feeling like they belong before they understand. And so one of the ways we do that is through the More Than a Mastermind series. We do like Benny knows, we do, and everybody on here like Johnny and Joe and others, we use a monthly Web3 webinar and other events, pop-up meetups at conferences and things like that. But really, it's those people who are serious, whether we're collaborating, whether they're a client, somebody that we're helping accelerate their relationships through a strategic marketing plan, relationships plan, build out a map of Taproot people to help them save more money on instead of it going 60, it is 80, it goes to 60. Just having fun with Johnny because Johnny, come on, man. Just having fun. But it's guys like Johnny that are able to connect with guys like Benny. And when you get them connected to Benny, it's like anything's possible. So we're just here to help you connect, whether it's a Joe or a Benny or somebody else on this call. There's somebody that is in our community that you should probably connect with. So we do that through a discovery call. They can reach out, book a time on my calendar, or join the Web3 webinar, or see if we have a More Than a Mastermind that's a good fit. Thanks.
They're fantastic events. I go myself and I highly recommend it. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah, my quick is, I build technology. I make connections to wonderful people like these people. And I have a Web3 accelerator for early stage companies. So let me know if I can help in any way. On that note, we'll go into Q&A. And for people, I know we had a scheduled end at the top of the hour. We'll do what we can to answer questions. If you do need to jump and you have a question you want to ask, feel free to put it in and we can follow up with you about that. But yes, on that note, we'll go into some of the questions on the Q&A. So we had an interesting question from Brian. So Brian and his team are creating an MR and XR live show, which incorporates a metaverse option for an avatar audience to join the live audience. He's wondering if anybody on the panel has looked at this and looked at incorporating NFT merchandise as another revenue stream.
Yeah, check out Single Music, singlemusic.com. They do a great job. They're with Solana and on Shopify's. They're a partner with Shopify. They do a great job with doing merch, but maybe not the exact same that you're talking about. But if you buy a piece of merch, you can get an NFT for token gating, and it's a great platform. I recommend Single Music to look into. That might be a cool resource for you.
And I know I have also talked with some artists about selling NFTs and can help as well. So let me know if you have additional questions. And yeah, we can put that link in the chat to everybody as well. I'll just drop that in. Oh, that's the same one I had from before. I'll find that link and I'll put it in there. Okay, we have another question about music rights. Actually, and Joe, I'm looking at you for this one. It's a great question. So as a music producer, we believe that art cannot be replaced by AI. But as an attorney, what we face a challenge in as a label that people use the song and they can't detect if that song is being used on places like YouTube, streaming platforms, and other sites. So there's a number of challenges with that. But I'm curious, and Joe, if you want to talk a little bit more about, as we're taking music, it becomes digital, how do we track what's going on so that the owners can make sure to get paid?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, because I've been experimenting on this for a while. So, the problem with it is, like, right now you do waveform matches, and you can get pretty good with that. You can also add in, a bunch of metadata, and they can source it to a certain point. But like, if you played the mandolin in a different time signature of a famous song, then we're not going to be able to track that bit and piece of it. I mean, there's some great stuff out there right now, like a company like PEX. I think they could get it as low as like 3 notes or something on their matching system. Provided they have it tracked across all the other platforms, and right now, royalties, infringement. I mean, there's 12 notes, and I mean 100,000 new songs every day. So, we put up a site called Music Factor Reports. You could go to musicfactorreports.com, and we did comparative copyright analysis with AI. And instead of breaking it down, we broke it down into its music theory constructs. And we give a musicologist grade report, and I can take any 2 songs and do that type of comparative copyright analysis. It's math, right? So it's completely objective. And we can show the similarities between any 2 compositions. Doing that like in milliseconds, though, would be pretty cool. And being able to compare music and seeing what percentages of what songs are similar. And it's something that we've been working on for years now, and building our database to do these comparisons. That's been quite interesting. And as we build it out, I mean, it gets fervently exciting, because you'll be able to get it to that point where using so many different methodologies to go and track your royalties, and then getting paid on those royalties is a whole nother animal, right? Okay, I found them. Like, the dog literally caught the bus. Like, what do I do next? How do I get that money in today? And there's a bunch of companies that we've been using. I mean, I started using this company Audium, and then I used Hawk to go in, because I have a 9,000 song catalog that I have out on the internet that's karaoke. So people sing along with it and repost it in their social media all the time. So we got really good at that part of it, going around and hunting down our master recording, not our publishing rights. Because as we all know, music is 2 parts. There's the sound recording, and that's one intellectual property. And then there's the words and music, or the sheet music, and that's publishing. And that's the other half of music. So there's 2 halves to music, controlled by a master part, which is the performing rights organizations, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and that's performing rights because that would be streaming and everything we're talking about. But copyright is it's really I think I've got a master's degree in it. I'm not sure if I have a doctorate yet, but we've been doing this for the past 10 years here, licensing sync. We do mechanical licensing. So when you do a song, the first thing you have to do is create a mechanical license, and then from there on create. So like AI creating new composition that's going to be like worth listening to, I don't know. AI on its own, like as not guided by a human, like the minute I'm using artificial intelligence, like a product like ours, like Creator Pro, we're using artificial intelligence, but it's a tool, and it's a tool that will just speed things up for me, because I'm eventually going to get there. As a musician, I'll get to that part. About creating music, that's beyond me. I know what I can control right now, and to make sure that no one's rights are being violated. That's what we're doing. But it's a fascinating question.
Another question for the panel: what are ways of minimizing gatekeeping in Web3 so that the same practices don't carry over to Web2?
You got me, man. We got to become the gatekeepers. So, if I got my guy at the door at the club and I tell him, look, anybody who's cool, just let him in, and everybody's cool. It's already paid for. The door's paid for. The club's paid for. Just have them register the event right. Make sure it lines up with the deal. There's no longer, the same way, Benny, you would keep the flow, whether you call it gatekeeping or the Zoom room, as long as nobody's trolling or causing disruption of the greater good, like it's difference between having civil discourse, even a little uncivil discourse, and total disruption within a community that you're responsible for setting the atmosphere. So we just got to do it and serve, really serve there's current gatekeepers that we could be serving. There's former gatekeepers we can be serving. There's people who've been pushed out that we could serve, marginalized communities, especially. Empower the little Einsteins walking on the street, that's what I love about the vision that Cleveland's doing. They're saying, look, we can take this to the schools. We can take, empower those who've been looked over. And they will pass it on to somebody else. When imagine if Tupac would have became a record exec or something back in the day. It's like, man, he would have empowered so many people. So it's not like one Kanye, it's not one Tupac, it's not one, this person or that person. It's thousands of innovators that you can't box in because we're working together. And so I think healthy relationships will protect from dishonest or unintegral gatekeeping or gatekeeping to an extreme.
I'm excited for how smart contracts play into that too. Johnny, do you want to jump on how smart contracts can help with that, or I can explain it?
There's a lot of ways that I think smart contracts can fix that gatekeeping. Not only the transparency that they show, the blockchain shows in general, everything is ledgered. So there's no, certain extent. I kind of play the devil's advocate, where I think gatekeeping is not necessary, but there needs to be some sort of land of the law, some sort of, I don't know how to explain it, because I know a lot of people will think it's gatekeeping, but something more transparent than the old way we've done business. Like Brandon said, the new way people do business in Web3 is kind of like sharing all. Web2 was like, I can't give you my contacts from my distributor to my alcohol because I don't want you to make more money than me. Well, now Web3 is like, oh, here it is, make more money than me, because maybe then you'll bless me, or maybe then I know you'll return the favor. That's kind of how I see it. And the smart contracts provide that safe kind of contract for that in the sense of music, I guess, or anything Web3.
because with smart contracts, things are transparent and immutable. So you see where the money's going, and it can't change. And you could start a new smart contract, but it makes people much more honest about, hey, if you say you're here for the artists and you're going to be fair about royalties, put your money where your mouth is, write it into a smart contract. Absolutely. So I know we've actually got some good questions that are still coming in. So I know we're a little bit over time. Some panelists, if people have to jump, I can help make connections on questions and answers, but I'd like to keep answering these if we've got a few more minutes here. Got a great one about kind of regulation, SEC, an important question. So question is, how are each of us handling the behemoth of taxation and new SEC challenges for NFT holders? And as context, the government changed terminology from digital currencies to digital assets, which blankets things, and it can make things more difficult. So for those that have thought about how they're handling taxation, the new SEC changes for NFT holders, be curious to hear how you're dealing with that.
I would just caution everybody on here not to give financial advice. Not a good idea. It's definitely
literally going to say the same thing.
You should definitely just call your accountant, call your attorney, and get those types of questions answered through that channel. I think that there's a lot of governments have always been late to the game, and when innovation comes along, it's late to the game, and it takes a concerted effort by a lot of people in order to instigate and initiate rules and laws that govern the body in a way that's healthy. So when we think about what we need to do as entrepreneurs and what we need to do as a community, I can tell you I've seen lots of laws written, and it's not generally written by the politicians. It's written by people like us in the community who understand it intimately. I started pushing for laws around digital property rights 5+ years ago with politicians. And that's what you have to do. You have to lobby for what action that you want to take. You have to have a concerted effort of people that have the same views and objectives as you, that are truly representing the long-term viability of whatever that is that you want to talk about, that you want to write laws around. And you write the law. You quite literally write the law. You turn it into the politician, and you defend why it is that you think that that's what they should endorse and support and put their name on in order to enact that legislation and have that change made. And when we're talking about being innovators, and we're talking about changing the fundamentals of our world effectively through these mechanisms of technology, then we should all be very vocal about what those rules are. Otherwise, some disconnected politician that's motivated by money or power or whatever else is going to write laws that impact you, us, without our say so. So take action.
Do your own research was certainly the answer I was looking for too. Always, always, always. And I know as a company working with companies that are also dealing with that, same concept applies. If there's any doubt at all, talk to a lawyer. And in the meantime, when you're setting up that meeting, assume the worst, right? And I shouldn't say the worst, because regulation, these things are in play. They are beneficial, but assume that it is highly regulated, that you will have to report everything and act accordingly. I also do know several, both lawyers that help with some of the tax side of it, and lawyers that help with hey, do we need to be a security? How do we register that? What is the process of that? So happy to help with that.
It's a complicated order.
Indeed.
It's complicated.
All right. So one more question about music NFTs. So how will music NFTs create their utility? Or do we think that the music itself is the utility?
the way we're looking at it right now is from both those things. I mean, in our development, I mean, it's the use in the creation side of it. Um, and the utility would be like having access to session files, having access to synthesizers, having access to special sounds that nobody else has, having access to a style pack from your favorite artist, so you can track it. Like, and it's great because I mean, you look at it with music. I collect vinyl. I'm an avid vinyl collector, and I'll make this really fast. So I collect vinyl, and then I go and sell that piece of vinyl. That artist doesn't make any money on that vinyl. But now, if I had a session file or a mix pack that I downloaded, used it in a product, then I went and shared it with someone else, and it was all done on the chain. Now I can sell that a million times, and the original artist will still make they're a part of the money. They're part of the revenue. And yeah, I think NFTs for the utility part. I mean, I'm looking at it from a functional utility, like an actual going to use the thing in my daily life for my livelihood utility. I think that really bridges it. And then the ability then for you to take that and then do spin-offs of it, like fractionalize it to ownership of a short clip or a loop, something for social media, or the ability to use it that way. That's the utility that I'd be looking at in the way of, because we weren't calling them NFTs 5 years ago in our company. We were calling them, encrypted, blockchain access, like tokens. We didn't know what to call them. So, but I mean, it totally makes sense that, as long as we can track it, and especially when you're doing collaboration at scale, like whether it's me or someone else, or it doesn't matter, like you're doing collaboration at scale, you've got so many pieces in it. Can you imagine you get to the point where you say, hey, I really like the Dead Mouse beat. I really love that. But you know what? Those guys from Led Zeppelin really had the drum sound down. A lot of hip hop guys, like I want John Bonham playing the drums on a Dead Mouse tune and you got to be able to track all of this stuff because it's going to go there. Synthetic media is going to get there. And then somebody's going to put it together with VR, AR. You're going to put some glasses on. BB King's going to be playing on stage with like 9 other people, like your favorites from forever, a song that you wrote that you've got up there on the stage. I mean, it will get there. I mean, it sounds nuts, but it will get there. I mean, it'll probably get there in our lifetime too. And it's happening rapidly. I mean, digital transformation is just, astounding. And, working at the forefront of that and artificial intelligence. And then, I really admire all of these art, open AI and all these breakthroughs and all of these fantastic neural nets out there that are, I'm singing the praises of all this, but I mean, the utility part of the NFT, I would really, that for me, that's everything, and especially for our industry, the music industry, being able to track your rights at any time on any piece, to just be able to go into your wallet or to your MetaMask and see all your royalties in real time, as opposed to having to wait. Does everybody remember quarter royalty reporting? I mean, that should be something of the past, except for physical goods, of course. But, it's all digital goods. So this stuff moves at the speed of sound. Get the pun, speed of sound. Get it?
I know that is our questions for today. If people have other questions, got like 10 seconds, but feel free to let me know too. I noticed I didn't put my links in before, but I just uploaded my own information into the chat. Feel free to reach out to me, can make connection to all these wonderful people. We'll be following up with some of the links that were shared. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time with us. The expert panelists, couldn't tell you how excited I was to have this and how grateful I am for you to also spend your very valuable time with us. So on that note, we'll say our goodbyes, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.